Hello and welcome to the Dojo, a search marketing news podcast by Exposure Ninja. My name is Dale Davies. I'm the head of marketing at Exposure Ninja. I'm joined by Charlie Marchant, our CEO. Hey, Charlie, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastically well, thanks. It's like boiling hot in the UK. I feel like I'm in Spain, so
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's like the shirts have finally come out. The
summer
fleece is away after like 9 months. It's gone.
They are gone.
Yeah, feeling it here too. I woke up this morning, it was already 18 degrees, which may be nothing to others, but for me, it's like quite a lot. Well, we're not here to talk about the weather. We do have much better things to be talking about than that. So as you may have seen from the title for this week's podcast, we're talking about the AI search possibly overtaking traditional search by 2028. Where has this title come from, Charlie?
So this title has come from our friends over at Semrush. They've done a bit of a study which has got 500 topics and subtopics sort of broadly related to marketing. So a fairly sizable study, I would say, though not super broad in terms of industry. And what they've done is take a load of data from all of those different topics and subtopics, turn them into search queries, and then they've basically projected what they think is going to happen with AI search. And the headline is massive, I think. They essentially are predicting that AI search is going to overtake traditional search by 2028, potentially even faster than that, they're saying as well, which I would definitely question and agree with. If AI mode rolls out and becomes the default, then I think we could see it faster than that. They're also saying AI search visitors converting better than traditional SEO users, which is, if that's on the cards, wildly good news for everyone. And then a couple of other things that they think are going on that we'll deep dive into later. So that's where this has come from. Essentially, massive rise in AI search, and they're predicting it's just going to get bigger.
Okay, right. If you're listening along or watching along, I'm going to bring up the survey onto screen so you can see where we're drawing this information from before we kind of dig more into it, because there's some fantastic graphs as well. So if you are listening along, if you head over to exposureninja.com/podcast, you'll be able to see the podcast show notes for this episode, and you'll get a link directly to this study as well as with Semrush's permission, I'm sure they'll be happy with it, for me to pull in some of those graphs into the show notes as well and just link back to them. I'm sure they'll be pretty happy with that too. So let me just pop this onto the screen for everyone to see. So this is the study. So they review, as Charlie's pointed out, they reviewed like loads and loads of search queries, specifically in this study's case for the digital marketing and SEO space, for queries that people in our industry would be looking for. But it's clear in here that you can extrapolate this study to represent what's going to happen across every industry. In fact, there's actually a line in there that says something along the lines of, this is coming to your industry or sector, whether you're ready for it or not. And yeah, some of the headline stats, as Charlie said, like I remember like the first one that you mentioned just there, potentially about how it's eclipsing traditional SEO. So let's just have a little look for this. So yeah, the 5 key findings. So surpassing traditional search. There's a fantastic graph, and for those of you who are listening along, basically from left to right, there's a graph with 3 different data points. So traditional organic search, LLMs the second data point, and then there's the total. And you can see in here that the total organic search is just decreasing over the next like 2 to 3 years. A projection, of course, based on what data has been recorded over the last couple of years. So they're suggesting if the trend increases in this way, the traditional organic search will just decrease over time, and going upwards in the graph in a much more positive direction than LLMs, which includes Google's AI overviews as well as AI mode. Is that correct, Charlie?
Yeah, absolutely, it does. So they're talking about all of the Google AI stack there, and they're also talking about other LLMs in general in this. So they're talking much more broadly. They're talking about everything: ChatGPT, AI overviews, Google's AI mode, Perplexity, Gemini, all of the tools that we're often talking about, which sounds really overwhelming. And I think it's probably just easier to think of those as the new type of AI search that's happening compared to traditional organic search, the 10 blue links that we are used to on Google. Just think of it as in those 2 buckets to start with.
My initial kind of thoughts are that any SEO, a marketer looking at this, is probably a bit scared at the prospect of something they're so used to relying upon for decades at this point. in traditional search just decreasing, the off chance that LLMs do take off. It's pretty scary.
Nervous and excited is
Oh,
hopefully
I'm
hopefully the mood.
excited, of course, but
Yeah, I think nervous and excited is the natural reaction and the normal reaction to this. It is a change, and this change has been coming for a little while. You and I have been talking about this change on the podcast for quite some time, and we've seen it happening first with the massive increase that ChatGPT's had since its proper launch, since people really started getting to know it. The massive increase in users that we're seeing. Google is still very much dominant. That's still the case now. And I think this trend, though, is predicting not like an overnight. It's not like tomorrow suddenly LLMs are going to eclipse, but it is happening. And I like this graph because I think it does a beautiful version of showing actually this trend is happening over the next couple of years, though it could be faster if AI mode becomes the default search. And for me, this is the perfect visualization of why marketers actually need to start taking this seriously. And all of the denial that goes on about like it's just SEO, we really need to get over that and move forward, because while some of the traditional SEO techniques and optimizations that we know do influence ranking in LLMs, so ChatGPT, AI mode, etc., positively, there are huge nuances here, and this study as well later goes into some of those nuances, some of the differences, that if you're top position 1, 2, 3 on Google, doesn't mean that you get mentioned in ChatGPT, doesn't mean you get mentioned in Google's AI mode in the top of those results. And to me, this is the perfect study, the perfect example of why marketers actually need to start taking action and getting a little bit excited about what the future can look like here and how we're going to optimize and manage that going forward.
Your point there about the distribution of where websites are being pulled from traditional search to their positions is one of the most exciting stats. So if you haven't yet seen it, just stick around, and we'll come to that in just a moment. It is probably one of the best graphs out of this entire thing. I have to commend Semrush and their data team. They have a subdivision called Datos, who have done some incredible surveys, and this is just another example of like the fantastic work they've done. So let's dig more into it. I just want to highlight one thing that you referenced there about AI mode, and that may, if that's rolled out sooner, that may lead to an increase in LLMs being the dominant source of organic traffic going forward. There was an interview with Sundar Pichai with Lex Friedman, who talks to a lot of different people, CEOs, people in science and tech. And during that podcast, Pichai was saying how positive the reception is to AI mode already, to AI overviews. Between the lines was saying that AI mode might roll out much, much faster than people are expecting. Like, it sounded very much like he was saying by the end of the year, it might even become the default. So just to come back to your point of, you've really got to be working on this last year to get the benefits now.
Start now if you haven't started yet, is my advice on that. I agree. And I think what's holding AI mode back from rolling out, probably that Google wants to make some tweaks. They want to make sure it's good. They don't want to roll it out and people be like, oh, this is horrible. They want that search experience to be better for the average user. And AI overviews that we've had for a long while, well, for anyone outside of Europe, we've had it for a long while. For Europe, things are speeding along a lot faster finally with that. Feels like it's been a testing ground for this. And it's just Google trying to get users used to the idea that AI is providing search results now. They're trying to build that trust. They're trying to make sure that the search experience is clean and smooth for them, which actually leads into the next key finding on here. And it might be my favorite one, actually, which is about the conversion rates of AI search visitors.
Before we get to that, just want to highlight for anyone who's not really following about the impact of LLMs and why we're excited about it, or where the concerns are for many people, is this line just here about how LLMs compress the marketing funnel, how a lot of that traffic we used to get for informational, educational searches are kind of being taken up by LLMs, and therefore you have to be part of the LLM response in order to get that final conversion that Charlie's referencing right now. Like, you have to be part of this system in order to get the financial benefit, the commercial search later on. So Charlie, I'll hand back over to you for this one.
Right. So exactly what a lot of marketers have been panicking about, quite rightly, is the rise of what we call zero-click searches. So where AI is answering questions directly, sometimes it feels like you're reading a whole blog post in an answer from ChatGPT or in an answer from Google's AI mode, where it's actually taking information across hundreds of sources, repurposing it into an answer for you. It means the user doesn't need to go to the website, and that's happening for a lot of very top of funnel informational terms. So when a user is only sort of just got to thinking about something and they're asking questions and doing research, they're not yet ready to make a purchase because they don't yet even know what they're doing, what they're exactly looking for. They might just have a problem at this stage or a pain point or something that they're exploring. And that's meant where SEO strategies are predominantly focused on top of funnel, a lot of websites aren't seeing the same click-through rates. They're not seeing the same amount of traffic on informational things. So it predominantly affects blogs in particular, or news sections, resource sections, knowledge bases, where websites mostly have all of this informational content. The reason not to entirely abandon top of funnel content, which may be everyone's next thought, okay, forget it, is because citation links are still included within this. So AI is still giving the top contributors for the answers that they're giving, which means you might be referenced in a panel on the right-hand side in AI mode. It means you might be referenced in citation links at the bottom in a ChatGPT answer, for example. They're all slightly different. And this is really important because if your brand is contributing to that, firstly, sometimes people will actually read further. Secondly, it's that brand recall, that resonance of, okay, I've seen this before. I've seen this before. And thirdly, it's also to do with that sort of digital PR side, other websites where you're being mentioned, making sure that you're building your brand there. What's actually happening here, though, is AI, these LLMs, Google AI mode, etc., they're trying to move users down the conversion funnel faster. They're trying to prevent them from having to go to 10 different website pages to do this research at the top of the funnel. They want to answer it for them and move them down the buyer funnel quicker so that they're closer to making a search, which is what's led to this. The ultimate finding here by Semrush is that there's a 4.4% higher conversion rate from LLM, large language model users, compared to searchers using traditional Google search, which is exactly what we're seeing. Basically, a compression of the buyer journey and people moving down the funnel faster, where they're getting answers quicker, which, if this is accurate, that's going to be amazing. Like, that's amazing news for businesses. So right now it feels like horrible, scary. We're losing clicks, we're losing traffic at the top of the funnel. If these LLMs actually manage to do that, businesses hopefully will be seeing really relevant customers moving towards their website from AI. What do you think, Dale?
I think there is, like, as you say, there's a huge upside to the commercial element of the work that we do. So, marketing is about putting your brand in front of other people, and then eventually them purchasing your software or your products, your new trainers, whatever it is. And if we can still achieve that, that's amazing. We just may have to kind of reshape the strategies that we've held to and used over the years to deliver that traffic, to deliver that top of funnel and then mid funnel, pulling people through the funnel. We may just need to change the way we come about doing that, and which is fortunately something that we do already for our clients. But the one question that keeps coming back to me, and I keep getting asked, is, does that mean that we should be changing the metrics that we measure within marketing? Or specifically for SEO, should I be expecting to continually see traffic drops? And should I be asking my SEO agency to focus on other things, like how many citations that have been earned over the past month, the past quarter? Should I be asking them to do more work around brand visibility, brand sentiment, these kind of things that we know impact LLMs? Should I not ask them for traffic updates anymore, or is that still going to be a core metric?
This is a great question, and I think we're in a really great area with reporting where this change is happening. But at the moment, traditional Google search is still dominant. So many businesses are still relying on our 10 blue links, organic results. AI mode is something we're seeing that Google rolled out in the US, ChatGPT being used more and more, but they're still not anywhere near the scale of traditional Google search right now. So for businesses, I think there's a balance that needs to be had. My advice is always to focus firstly on the thing that matters most, which is the bottom line for most businesses. So how many conversions are coming through the website, whether those are sales for an e-commerce, they might be lead contact form submissions, for example, free demo requests, something like that for a lead generation focused website. Always have those in mind. And the attribution of those in Google Analytics as well, if they're coming from organic search, direct referral. The other thing I would say is now is a great time to start looking at what traffic and conversions are coming from AI as well, so that you can actually see it growing and the scale of it for your business at the moment. That's something that you can do in Google Analytics. You can create filters so that you can see it specifically. I'm not going to go into exactly how to do that now because it takes a bit of time to set up, but once you've got it, it's in there. If you use Looker Studio reports, which we have custom Looker Studio reports for all of our clients, then you can easily set it up in there. So you've just got a tab showing exactly what's coming through from AI search. That's really, really helpful. When it comes to traffic, and that is probably what the majority of people working in SEO are really looking at. And that's why there's so much fear around this drop in traffic at the top of the funnel. I think it's good to still keep measuring traffic, but I think we need to be really careful with thinking about which keywords are bringing in traffic and whether the conversions the website is seeing are still where you want them to be. If you're seeing an uplift in conversions and a drop in traffic, it's not the end of the world necessarily. You just want to know where that drop in traffic is coming from. But if you're measuring traffic on its own in a silo, move away from that. That cannot be the be all and end all of SEO now. Then Dale, your suggestion is, are there other progress markers that we might be seeing towards AI search beyond traffic and conversions? And I think we are seeing more measurements like that. Our partners at Semrush, for example, have already got a couple of different metrics in their AI toolkit, which are absolutely great. We've shown it a couple of times. Dale's just bring it up on the screen if you're watching here. That include things like market share, overall sentiment, consumer engagement. I would say don't overwhelm yourself with loads and loads of metrics because then it gets really difficult to track. That's true of all marketing, to be honest. But something like market share or overall sentiment, I think are great to have an eye on so that you can actually see what's happening, especially if you've started working on optimizing for AI search.
It's really interesting. So I opened up this the AI toolkit, which Semrush offer, and you can go and try out actually exposure.ninja/AI-toolkit, and I'll make sure that's linked in the description and podcast show notes everywhere. You need to find it. Just coming into here and exploring a brand like Vanguard, huge company, just to see what their market share is fascinating. So they're at like a 23% penetration for market share against all of their competitors. So if I just scroll down again, if you can watch this along on YouTube, LinkedIn Live, and everywhere else, you can see which of the other investment brands are appearing. And it is very similar to some of the citation data that's in the Semrush report, which I'm going to share in just a moment. Really interesting how at this stage it's so distributed that for this particular sector, Vanguard only has 23%. The next brand being Charles Schwab is 16%. We're at the point where the distribution is going to be really quite spread. Like there are going to be lots and lots of different brands, but in like 3 to 5 years, you're going to see some of these brands having done a lot of AI search optimization to improve their visibility within these responses. They're going to increase their citations. They're going to improve brand sentiment. And these numbers are going to look wildly different in a few years from now once the search marketing industry really kicks into gear across all of the agencies out. Fortunately, we're very ahead with this, so we're already seeing the benefits, which is great. But eventually, Vanguard are going to show up with 40%, and Charles Schwab are going to turn up with another 40%, and people are going to be fighting over the next 20%. Is the way that I see it, because they are going to do the work now. At least the forward-thinking ones are, who are taking action today. It very much is like the Wild West in terms of, you could try lots of different things and lots of things will probably work, but you have to be doing it today in order to actually capitalize and beat the big fish later on.
And I think that, like, the point is, this is new. Like, everyone's learning here. This is not something that, a specialist few companies know exactly what to do. Like, AI mode only rolled out a couple of weeks ago, and we're learning more and more. From our personal experiments with our clients' work, we were super excited to see that actually a lot of the background work we'd been doing with AI search meant that when AI mode launched, we had clients already mentioned in AI mode on that same evening, which is an incredible result. But there's so much more going on. And these studies like Semrush, Ahrefs are also doing some fantastic studies in a similar sector as well, are showing there's a much, much bigger picture. And it's essentially learning a new style of optimization. The importance of search teams now is massive, is huge. And it's really important for marketers to pay attention to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to briefly touch upon the other parts of the AI toolkit, because it blew me away the first time I saw it. So there are 3 different areas. So on the dashboard, you see market share, and it tells you how much visibility you've got across all these different searches versus other brands. Overall sentiment, so how positive or negative people feel about you. So Vanguard's investment sector, or part of their company, has like 69% sentiment, which means like it should be fairly positive, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. And also customer engagement is pretty low at 18%, but what does customer engagement mean? I'll just show you just now. So if you go to audience and content, which one of the 3 reports in here, it gives you an overview of, this is the kind of content that people are looking for and your business could benefit from for producing. So on the left hand side here, it's giving an explanation of Vanguard would benefit from showcasing fee impact calculators, that this is clearly something people are looking for, or other brands in the space are producing and gaining citations from, mentions from, and that you should probably dedicate some time to doing so as well. And on the right hand side, it talks about topic distribution. So it's saying investment products and features make up a large part of what people are looking for, or looking to understand about this sector before making their commercial search later on. And it shows you the full breakdown of what kinds of content or types of queries the brand is showing up for. So 51% of the queries are around education. People are trying to understand investment or finance. 22% of that is research, which is, how does Vanguard compare to Charles Schwab or somebody else? That's the comparison part as well. There's a comparison part, which is 13%, but the research part is also like, which benefits should I be looking for? Which features should I be aware of? The fees and all this kind of stuff. And then further down, it gives you a full breakdown of the kinds of content you can be creating, or the kinds of query you can be answering. So let's just take one of these, because there are several. The topic is investment products and features. It's split between 52% of that is educational content. Well, the two queries or questions, the conversations that have been asked are, what are the benefits of investing in low cost index funds? And how can I start investing in index funds as a beginner? Now, if I don't have that content on my website, I'm going to be rushing out there to speak to my content team to see how we can get that created. And then I think, is it further down this page as well, they talk about AI audience and content opportunities. Hey, this is the kind of stuff that you should be doing. You should promote digital tools and online account management capabilities. This is something that people are interested in and are looking for more details on, and you're not covering well enough. Add it into your content plans, into your landing pages, explain it more, into your brand work. Highlight Vanguard's range of social responsibility work, the ESG kind of stuff, that you're adding new ETFs, new funds for sustainable brands versus traditional ETFs that might track against the S&P 500 or something like that. This is pretty much a one-stop shop for everything you could possibly want to know about how visible your brand is. how people are talking about it, how the LLMs are talking about your brand as well, and what content decisions and brand decisions you can take to actually change things around, increase your market share, improve your sentiment score, and so on. I could spend all day talking about this tool. I'm in love with it.
Honestly, it's so juicy. I feel like everyone just needs to go and jump in there and have a play with it, because Semrush do a demo one as well. So you can have a look at a demo and see what it looks like before you even put your own brand in there as well. It's super juicy. Dale, what was the website address again for everyone who might want to have a look?
It's exposure.ninja/AI-toolkit. I'll make sure that is linked in the right places so everyone can give it a go. We're going to head back over to the report. Because this is one of the tabs I have open. I have several. This is about ChatGPT, how many monthly users it has versus Wikipedia, which is relevant to the next point, which is about the websites that are being cited, like what their ranking positions are in traditional search. Charlie, if you want to take it from here.
Yeah. So one of the questions we get quite a lot, which is completely understandable, is does this just mean the dominant businesses, the industry giants, Amazon and everyone are just going to do even better? That's it. There's that small businesses, medium businesses can't even compete. This change that we're seeing from this data on Semrush evidences that that is not necessarily going to be the case. So from their study here, they found that ChatGPT actually cites web pages way further down the organic search results, so positions 21 plus even. And that's because LLMs can read so much information. They can read hundreds of pages quickly. And what the study does show is that actually still, if you're in those top 1 to 3 positions on Google, that's really influential as well. But if you are further down the search engine results, so page 2, maybe even page 3 for certain keywords, but you have interesting, specific information that may be relevant to your niche target audience, may be relevant to a more niche type of search query, actually, ChatGPT and some other LLMs are going to look at that and pull that up if they think it's more relevant information for the user. And that's because where the traditional Google results are looking at the whole page, they're actually just going to serve you, a website's whole page. They've got to look at things like the whole loading time, how technically good it is, how long users stay on the page, whether all of the information is as relevant as possible. They've got to decide, okay, this page is the best. Whereas LLMs and ChatGPT, they don't serve you the whole page. They just need to pull out the best information for the user, which is great news because it means you do still have to be doing SEO, of course, to be on page 2 and 3. But it does mean that actually there's way more opportunity for businesses who are competing on SEO, but actually not able to invest the huge spends of the giants in their sector to show up in these results. It's an interesting playing field, and one that I think people shouldn't be afraid to enter if they are a smaller business as well.
Sundar Pichai has talked about how he's not worried for publishers that they're still going to get traffic from Google. They're still going to get people searching and then ending up on a website. And I think that confidence has come from the fact that they are doing so, as this graph shows that, there's a good distribution. There's a lot of different websites that are going to get featured in AI overviews in AI mode. It says here that Google's AI overview, 18% of the 18% of the featured businesses in the AI overview come from the first 5 positions. That's actually quite a hefty bit. So big companies, big publishers, NerdWallet is still going to feature heavily because they just have a really solid SEO base. But coming back to Pichai's point of more websites are going to get traffic, this is exactly what's shown in the data, that actually instead of it always being NerdWallet, we're going to spread it out to more publishers. And the reason being is that some of these publishers are putting out far more personalized content that's more specific to you. So a publisher, let's say you're in the mortgage space and you want to work directly with veterans. If your content is specifically about veterans, you're going to be pulled into the citations for that response for a veteran who is searching for mortgage information, for mortgage rates specifically to them. versus a traditional kind of mortgage rates search on traditional Google, it's going to pull up whoever's got the best SEO, more or less, whoever's got the most backlinks, the best on-site and off-page SEO. Whereas this changed everything. Like, the deeper we go into personalization, the better it's going to be, I would say.
Yeah, the opportunity, I think, is massive for businesses who know who they're targeting and who their customers really, really are. And this is just another step towards not trying to target just everyone and hoping for the best, actually thinking about what you can put out in your website's content that makes most sense for the people that really buy from you, that benefit from the products or services that you actually sell.
And the juicy thing that I wanted to share from earlier on about who is getting cited, the fourth point here is that Quora, the question and answer website, is the most cited website within Google's AI overviews. And I imagine that's probably carrying over to AI mode as well. But Reddit's up there too, with a lot of mentions as well, which is not too surprising. But we're looking right now, if you're listening along, at the most cited domains in Google AI overviews graph, and it shows Quora and Reddit a second. But then there's LinkedIn third, YouTube, New York Times, Amazon down in sixth place. But then it gets onto the kind of niche down travel and leisure website, Healthline, Bankrate, Forbes, NerdWallet. Did any of these domains surprise you, Charlie, or is it as you kind of expected?
I think it's a bit towards what I expected, to be honest. We've known that Quora and Reddit have been influencing for a long time, and that actually LLMs are prioritizing first person experiences much more readily than the traditional Google search results have been. And this kind of makes sense because they're moving towards personalization. They're trying to make sure that users also have what's almost that sort of second, third stage in their search, where then they go and look for reviews. They go and look for personal experiences as well. The hesitation I have around Quora and Reddit is I think a lot of people are going to be thinking, how trustworthy is that information? And there's going to be a big fear now about whether businesses try and game this, which I would heavily advise against, because that's, to me, another version of black hat SEO, which may help temporarily and long term will see you falling off a cliff. And I would hate to see anyone come to us having fallen off a cliff after this. Of actually, are people going to try and plant conversations on Quora and Reddit? But the LLMs will eventually catch up if people do that. And from what I have seen, it has been threads that are doing well with legit information within them. Not surprised to see LinkedIn and YouTube here. Instagram just yesterday rolled out an update to its settings as well to allow Instagram content to now be shown in the search results as well. So I think we might see more and more social platforms being tied in. And then, yeah, a couple of the giants, essentially, which we would expect to see in here. Hugely informational news sites coming on. CNET, Business Insider, Wikipedia as well has been referenced as being quite influential across LLMs. So I think it is everything we would pretty much expect. And to me, this is just another example of why digital PR is so important for a business's strategy, but so is thinking about how your business is reviewed and seen by your customers and people online as well. Thinking about expanding beyond just the messages you're able to control on the types of websites that you might be publishing with, and actually thinking about how your users talk about you, not just in reviews, but more further afield than that. Quora and Reddit, of course, being two of the leading forums where people do go and chat about businesses and brands.
I think part of what you were saying throughout all of this episode is that you need a solid base of SEO as well as the digital PR stuff, the brand stuff, the sentiment stuff. Like, the marketers' skill set needs to be broader. Like, how you handle strategy, tactical stuff has to change. You're actually going to be required to do far more than you were previously in order to feature in LLMs, and LLMs are going to be the default going forward. So you've got to take the kind of information we're sharing today and take the next step of figuring out how that works. How do you do AI search optimization? What are the tactical differences between what I'm used to doing and what I need to do tomorrow? A lot of that you'll find on our website, exposureninja.com/blog or /podcast, as well as on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@Exposure Ninja, or you can just search Exposure Ninja AI mode on YouTube, and you'll see some of our best videos about how to rank in AI mode as well. But I brought, for the audio listeners, I brought onto the screen the travel and leisure website on Semrush's SEO toolkit, which is another fantastic part of their tool suite. And the reason I've done so is because it just shows the importance of that underlying traditional SEO base of strong visibility in traditional search. Like you need, over time, this will change and it will be a greater distribution. But as things stand now, and probably will always be the case, you will need this solid base of visibility. So in travel and leisure's case, if I take out everything but outside of the first page, over the last year, they've just increased their visibility and getting featured far more in the SERP features like AI overviews, as well as feature snippets, reviews, and increasingly there'll be AI mode as well. So it's the same with travel and leisure. Good housekeeping as well worked super well, as this graph shows. They've increased a lot their visibility in search features, and I think it was for NerdWallet too, who I adore. Like I love their content. Like I've spent a lot of time looking at the mortgage industry personally this year, based off the great work that our team has done in the mortgage sector over the last year or two, a couple of years actually at this point. Like they have really done well to establish themselves as a credible source of information, and that's now turning from first, second, and third positions in the search results to now high visibility within AI overviews, AI mode, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and every other AI search you can think of as well. Like you need to have that solid base of SEO for sure.
Well, and these graphs, those three graphs that you've just showed on screen for everyone who's audio listening only, they're just showing that in visibility in SERP features as well. So only top positions, but also the SERP at the top of the Google search results. And actually, these businesses are still investing in traditional SEO to make sure that they're dominant in both the traditional search and that they become authority sources in AI search as well. We've talked loads about the nuances in this episode between them because they're not like for like, they're not exactly the same, but there is so much underlying juice of traditional SEO, and these massive businesses are just showing it. You know, we don't need to we can use the data to see things like this. We don't need to make guesses at how important SEO is or is not right now. We can see it from the investment that's being made from these research studies about how these big businesses are actually performing and what they're prioritizing, and SEO is still at the top of that list along with AI search.
I mean, if you are listening along, I highly recommend you come over to this time point, 38 minutes into the recording. Look at the NerdWallet graph I'm showing for SEO visibility. I filtered it specifically down to AI overviews, I think it is. Where is it? Yeah. Oh, no. I've done it the other way around. Okay, it doesn't matter. But like their visibility is incredible. Like they're just... it's mind-blowing to me just how visible they are. It all comes off some fantastic SEO work as well as everything else. So let's take us back to the study. I think there's just one more point to cover before we finish off for this week.
Yeah, sure. The final point then from the study is that half of ChatGPT links are pointing to business and service websites. This is ChatGPT 4.0 responses that they've looked at here. And I think this is pretty compelling, to be honest, and maybe a relief for any business owners who are actually watching, is that makes up pretty much the biggest portion, half the pie chart of citations for the categories that they've tracked. So they've also tracked directory and review sites, government, institutional sites, .orgs, that kind of thing, education, e-commerce, blogs and content as well. And all of those are just making up much smaller portions of that total number of ChatGPT citations, which is really great to see. And it makes sense that actually ChatGPT wants to bring users to the businesses, to the services that they're looking for, because that is ultimately what the majority of searchers are doing.
Yeah, and it establishes and maintains the fact that on-site content is still as important as ever. You still need to be producing like the right kind of content, and that may change with some of the suggestions that you'll get via Semrush's AI toolkit. It suggests you need to be writing about these for these search intents for education reference and so on, but you still need to have some form of on-site stuff, and increasingly that's going to be personalized into your sector. And if you can do it, some first-party data stuff like surveys and things like that are becoming ever more crucial in this new future of search.
Absolutely. So, shall we get into the tactical takeaways? Dale,
Yeah.
What should marketers be doing after this 40 minutes of massive news about what's going on? What are the key takeaways for marketers?
You got to audit where you are. Like the first point is you've got to audit how strong your brand, your business is within existing searches. Like there are people doing things right now that you may not be tracking, you may not be aware of. You need to start making that a priority. I don't imagine it's more than 20, 30, 40% priority from every business, but for some there'll be a huge shift, and it may be the singular source of traffic for you in the next year, 2-3 years. So just audit where you are today and how much time and resource you're dedicating to AI search and AI search optimization internally or via your agency.
100% agree. And I also think if you're not really sure where to start and you're thinking, oh my God, there's such an overwhelming number of LLMs, which there are a lot of LLMs now, I would personally start with ChatGPT because it is one of the more dominant ones in terms of the amount of traffic. So do a couple of searches on there. And if you're US, have a look at AI mode, because the prediction is, of course, that Google may move to that as the default over a bit of time. So that's going to impact US first. Best to actually see how your business is showing up, what other businesses are being referenced on the kinds of phrases and keywords that you care about.
Absolutely. Second point, I don't know where to start really. There's so much to it. I don't know about you, Charlie. I don't know where you would start with the second point. I think after the auditing, I'm going to start to strategize and figure out, okay, what are my priorities? Do I focus on these content areas, these topics? Do I have to, potentially that's where I start. To just make sure that the on-site stuff is taken care of, and then figure out like customer mapping, buyer journey. What does that look like? What kind of queries are people going to be asking that don't come through to the website, or that my website can't be part of the answer? I then need to start working on making sure I'm getting featured there instead. So, it may be a Quora. I find that unlikely for a lot of B2B companies, but potentially B2C. B2C probably heavily for Reddit as well, but you need to figure out what does that journey look like today versus what we're used to, and start to figure out, okay, I need to make these 3 websites my priority to do guest posting on, or do a interview series on, or ask them if you can hop onto their podcast, or whatever it is. Like just make sure that you're getting featured in some way, either your brand is or the key individuals within your business are as well.
In a nutshell, solid content and online PR plan needed.
Yeah, absolutely. There's more to it, of course. There is a lot of like the underlying SEO is probably the third point. Just make sure you solidified all of that. Fourth point, technical SEO. Well, I don't know if we're changing the name of that as well. Let's not. There's enough name changing. Let's just keep it.
No more name changes.
But you need to take care of that as well. You need to make sure that your website is crawlable, that all of these LLMs can get to the information you have, that you're making it easy to crawl to. So whereas Googlebot, the crawler that Google sends out, is looking at things like page speed and so on, looking at the total user interface and user experience and deciding how to rank based on lots of different points. The LLMs are in a way kind of in the Stone Age, and they're just crawling the basic data, the text, tables, things like that, and they're not great at it. So you got to mark them up using something called schema. I'm not going to go into details on what that is, but your technical SEOs will know. And if you don't have some, just come and speak to us. We're more than happy to help you out, because that's a key point at this stage. Make sure the information you are putting out there is easy for these LLMs to stick in their database for future reference, but also to crawl in real time as things like ChatGPT search and AI mode do that real-time searches. They'll be able to pull in that information as well. So that's another key part too you're gonna have to do.
Yeah. And if all of this is honestly a bit too much, because it's getting quite complicated by the time we're on step number 5, then over at Exposure, we do AI search strategies to actually break this down for businesses and support them with the direction that they need to move for AI search. You do need to be a business that is already doing some SEO. You can't just have launched and hope for the best. So before you get to that stage, if you are a business that has worked on some SEO, that you've got a couple of rankings that you're doing well for, a couple of keywords, even if that's page 2 or 3, that's a great base to then look into AI search. And sometimes, honestly, a conversation with someone who knows about this can really help just make it all feel a bit less overwhelming.
Right. Thanks again to Semrush for the incredible study. And if you would like to check out their AI toolbox, you can go to exposure.ninja/AI-toolkit. I'll make sure that's linked in the right places as well. And if you have enjoyed this episode and you've learned a lot, and I hope you have, please do let us know. Leave us a comment wherever you're watching or listening. And on Spotify, you can comment too. I've started to get a few comments to respond to on there, which is lovely. So thank you so much for that. But do subscribe or follow us on the relevant platforms too. We do love to have you coming along each week. It's great to see all of you. And that's pretty much it. Oh, go to exposureninja.com/podcast for the podcast show notes as well. So you'll be able to get all of the details that we've covered here today. And that should be up there by the end of today if you're watching this live on Friday, which you can do by going to Exposure Ninja. No, youtube.com/@Exposure Ninja. Too many calls to action. Let's leave it
there.
Everywhere. Yeah, we just appreciate the love. Send it on over.
We just want you to have the info everywhere.
Absolutely. Well, we're doing just great AI search optimization ourselves. You got to start from here, make sure that we're covering all the bases, all the on-site, off-site. We're everywhere, educating those LLMs that Exposure Ninja is the best agency for AI search optimization.
100%. All right. Well, fantastic. Have an incredible weekend, everyone. And thank you so much, Dale, for hosting. And thank you, Semrush, our partner, who has done the amazing data that really led us to have all of these key takeaways today.
And thank you to you too, Charlie. Right, let's head out. Thanks, everyone. Bye.